This is Hydromeda, my giant tropical wetlands vivarium, home to a plethora of aquatic creatures, and even a flying lizard ruling the land area. It's a personal biological project of mine to study the workings of ecosystems of wild tropical wetlands, all leading up to the second phase of this project, when I finally get to connect Hydromeda to my other two giant rainforest vivaria to create one massive world of life within glass. But the time has come to truly make these waters a wetland ecosystem with the addition of the most anticipated of additions: the fish. Huge schools of over 100 fish of different species were scheduled to be added to Hydromeda, and the result after their introduction into the wetlands truly left me speechless. But despite my carefully plotted plans for the creation of this new aquatic community, a crisis that I never could have predicted arose from the shadows, and by the time I noticed, it was already too late. This is the story of what happened when I added masses of schooling fish into my giant tropical wetlands vivarium, and how Hydromeda was changed forever thanks to the recurring and signature chaos of Mother Nature. Please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon. Welcome to the AC family. Enjoy. A shoal of shrimp, we've named the Skittles, were picking away at a dead fish that had miraculously fallen from above. Excuse me, stop hogging. Let me in, guys. Will you please move? There were actually a couple other dead fish nearby that were also claimed by the shrimp. But I was actually okay to see this, and I'll explain why soon. But something I was not okay with was actually happening unbeknownst to me in a place I wasn't quite looking. And this, AC family, is how it all went down. I was super excited to finally add this next batch of fish into Hydromeda. The wetlands already had several algae eater fish, but what I was really looking forward to seeing were schooling fish. I longed to watch fish travel in tight groups through the lands, like a flock of birds streaming through the skies. And I had several fish species lined up to add in. But this first batch were some of the cutest schooling fish ever. The catfish. "What peculiar fellows," said a yellow skittle as it tiptoed past picking food from the wood. "Let's meet our new catfish now, shall we?" In these bags are small catfish belonging to the genus Corydoras. These are panda Corydoras, leopard, and peppered. They were so eager to be released into the lush green lands below and had been waiting patiently in their bags. I actually was curious to know if they would travel in separate schools of their own kind, or if they would happily mix, or if they would simply just all scatter around to do their own thing. Rumor has it that Corydoras catfish do travel in schools of hundreds or even thousands in the wild. So let's see. AC family, shall we? First, I released the leopard Corydoras. They were at first a bit stunned at their new surroundings and just stood completely still, taking in the strange vast world around them. Some explored the shadows of the driftwood. Some immediately began to forage, tasting all the edible junk it could find in the sand. Others hung out in the plants. Let's release the peppered Corydoras. The peppered Corydoras immediately began to feed from the sand floor, performing their important job as bottom feeders and cleanup crew. They also eat tiny insects and creatures they can manage to suck up. I love the blue shine on them. They even work to clean up and feed from the shadowy places I couldn't quite see. There was plenty of junk for the fish to feed from, and they knew it. Those whiskers are sensory barbells that help them sniff out food. The shrimp now had some help with cleaning up, or perhaps some competition. So far, I didn't see any mixing of species, But let's see what happens when we release the pandas. The pandas appeared to be in shock with the introduction at first, and just kinda lay there, but soon woke up and began to search the lands for food. I loved watching this panda work meticulously through the moss in search of food. This panda was excited, rummaging through the grains of sand. This panda took a quick snooze break before moving on. It was interesting to see that some of the pandas somehow ended up finding each other, but some of the corridoras seemed quite content to travel solo. I spotted a trio of peppers swimming together, but what I saw next was quite sad. Jules, a leopard Cory, was eyeing the trio, swimming all around. Jules was hoping to school with them. He swam up to the peppers. "Hey guys, mind if I join you?" Hello? Aw, how sad. The peppers weren't willing to mix with Jules. Rejection can be painful. Maybe he could be friends with the shrimp. Okay, guess not. It too kept its distance. It was amazing to admire the anatomy of the corridoras up close. Check out that pattern. They're so cute, right? I love their sections of iridescence. And those barbels look quite funny. But it seemed for now, the corridoras were okay with solo time, or loose groups. It wasn't until day 2 that I truly began to see some cool grouping behaviors. The next day I spotted a pair of pandas that had truly paired up. They explored the surface of the sandy floor together. And joined another panda to create a loose panda trio. The trio would even rest together before moving on. And guess what? I introduced a 4th species of corridoras, known as sturbi. They look pretty awesome, right? And what do you know? It seems Jules had finally made a new friend. I watched with glee as Jules and a new sturbi swam together through the joyful currents. 2 new best friends in a promising new world. I was happy to see the 2 Corys enjoying each other's company. The sturbis were also quite cliquish, traveling together in loose groups of 2 or 3. In fact, 2 or 3 seemed to be the magic number for the Corridora schools. And though they didn't travel together in larger numbers, like I thought they might, it was still such a delight to see them group up into their mini trio or duo cliques. Alright, now that our new community of Corridoras catfish were in, and we learned about their schooling behaviors, now we could add in some other fish species that I knew for sure would school in large numbers and satisfy that itch I had to witness masses of fish schooling. And AC family, this was where things got very interesting. Tetras, the common name for a multitude of freshwater fish belonging to the family Characidae, to which many popular species within the aquarium hobby belong. There were 3 species of tetras I've been dying to see swim through these waters, simply because of how awesomely trippy they look, swimming in their massive schools. You guys are about to get quite the visual treat from here on in. It had been a week since I released the Corridoras, and it was now time to release our tetras. The first 2 species were waiting in these bags. Each bag contained a massive school of about 50 tetras. The fish were eager to be let out as they eyed the expansive land below. To all you aquarium hobbyists, do you guys recognize these tetras? And wait until you see the 3rd species to be added in after. These here are called rummy-nose tetras. Now these incredible fish form some of the most amazing schooling patterns I've ever seen and are my favorite schooling fish. But the coolest part about them is, see that red forehead they have? Well, they're kind of pale right now, but it's because they're stressed. You see, when these fish are stressed, that forehead goes pale to sometimes peach in color. This makes their forehead color a good indicator of the quality and condition of the waters in a tank. If their heads are not bright red, you know the fish are stressed, usually from poor water quality. I wondered how good the water quality of Hydromeda was. Guess we would soon find out when we release them. These are ember tetras, which are a beautiful orange tetra that also forms some incredible schools, and due to their goldfish-like coloration, truly stand out against the greenery. I had a feeling they would look stunning schooling through Hydromeda. Let's release the fish now, shall we? First, the embers. Completely terrified, the embers swam as far as they could and took cover, hiding away in the driftwood. Before I knew it, the majority of the large school of embers was gone, with only a few members willing to be out in the open to explore. I spotted a brave pair swimming to the other side, but I believe they were lost and looking for the school. These fish were definitely the shy type. All right, let's release the rummy nose. And just as I had hoped, after finding their bearings for a moment, they got right into formation and began to school. The school kind of hovered on one end of the tank, while the embers seemed to stay on the opposite side. And then I noticed one brave and curious rummy nose taking the risk of swimming out on his own further into the waters, but darting back to the school when he got paranoid. And this is the beauty of the science of schooling. The whole purpose of schooling is for survival. The more you group together, the more eyes you have to spot potential predators or dangers around you. Plus, you have the added security of looking like a larger animal to predators. Schooling also makes it much harder to spot sick, weak, or injured individuals, which predators are always trying to scope out. But watching the school swimming back and forth, testing the waters as they ventured out further and further, was the coolest thing to watch. Each fish was so in tune with the adjacent fish surrounding it, as visual and sensory communication was everything. The slightest panicked dart in the opposite direction by one single fish could create an instant chain reaction to ultimately flip the direction of the entire school. But a soft change in direction meant the individual fish just wanted to head back a bit to check something out, and not that there was any danger. This was the amazing collective intelligence of the fish school. The presence of the rummy-nose tetras helped put the embers at ease a bit, and they slowly began to wander out of the woodwork, inspecting to see if things were indeed safe. Some even joined the rummy-nose school. I could tell the rummy-nose tetras were beginning to warm up to the waters of Hydromeda, and this confidence was beginning to spill over to the embers. I watched as a brave group of embers swam to the other side of the wetlands, escorted by a team of rummy-nose. Awesome! This would now surely help all the embers learn that these waters were safe and that it was okay to emerge into their new home. And soon, as predicted, both schools of tetras were out and schooling together. and it was one of the most beautiful things I had ever seen. Never in my life had I witnessed tetras having this much freedom to school like this, in this amount of open water. So I knew what we were witnessing here was truly special. I tried to sit up close to the vivarium, but when I approached the tank, the fish swam away like I was some big aquatic monster looking to eat them. They could totally see me through the glass. I had to sit a bit further back in order for them to be willing to swim in front of me. Alright guys, and now it was time for the final tetra species to be added in to complete our initial community of schooling fish. You will love these little guys. These are cardinal tetras. The stunning bright metallic blue stripe over a gorgeous red body make them one of the most attractive schooling fish in the aquarium hobby. They're often confused with neon tetras, which look similar, but I like cardinals better because the blue on cardinal tetras is more striking. I just couldn't wait to see clouds of these blue and red cardinals schooling through hydrometa. The shape and pattern of their schooling is also slightly different from the rummies and the embers, which you'll soon see. I released the cardinals. And at first I couldn't find them. Hey, where did they go? I checked the wood, but it wasn't long before the streaks of metallic blue gave away their location. There they were, swimming around at the back. What a gorgeous school of fish. Now, I began to wonder why nature would give these very vulnerable fish such a bright coloration. Wouldn't that be like over-announcing your location to potential predators? But after thinking about it more, I realized that these fish often live in black water, meaning tinted water, with tannins from wood, much like these waters here in hydrometa. And going back to the science of schooling, it was important that the fish could clearly see each other, read each other's movements, and know instantly what direction everyone was swimming for the survival of the whole. And bright colors meant better visibility in black water. I figured this had to be why these cardinal tetras, as well as other tetras, have evolved such striking colors. I watched and noticed all the fish instantly syncing up, becoming attuned to each other, communicating through visual cues where it was safe to swim, with each swarm informing the directional choices of the other. What a sublime sight to witness. And this, guys, is the reason why millions of us in the world love keeping fish tanks. Eventually, I noticed the fish were becoming accustomed to me hovering around, and soon I discovered that if I would just sit perfectly still, the fish would swim right by, and my heart raced as they did. And I totally freaked out when I noticed even the ultra-shy cardinals made the collective decision to swim a bit closer to me. Wow! We were clearly building a trust, and for the rest of the night, I sat there and marveled at Mother Nature's aquatic beauty. Let's just sit back and enjoy a few moments of the gorgeous, calming, and super gratifying view of our new schooling fish. What a trip! The next day, I was thrilled to see this. The rummy-nosed tetras. See those bright cherry red heads? That is the color of optimal water quality and happy fish. The embers had befriended the rummies and were happy to swim with them. The cardinals were also quite happy with their new home, still preferring the back end of the wetlands, probably due to the taller vegetation. It was amazing to see our wetland ecosystem welcoming its new community of fish. The ecosystem reached a new level of completion now, because check out the incredible cycle of nutrients that's happening here. We have the fish that release waste, that provides nutrients for the plants to grow. And my, were the plants loving all these pooping fish. The plants and microscopic life, feeding on fish waste, were offering food to smaller creatures, which were feeding bigger creatures like the corridoras. Microscopic algae feeding from fish waste nutrients were food for the algae eaters and snails. Decaying matter and dead fish, like these individuals, that were actually dead upon arrival to my place, were being eagerly picked apart by the skittles and nibbled on by the corridoras. Super cool to watch. The only missing link in our food chain at the moment was more predatory fish and creatures, which will be coming up in a future episode, as well as an abundance of microscopic insects and creatures needed to feed the tetras. I wasn't sure if the tetras could eat the shrimp newborns, but I'm still thinking of a way I can create a refugium for little creatures to breed safely away from the tetras, to eventually get dumped into hydrometa, perhaps in the sump tank below, but that will be for a future episode. For now, I'll just have to feed the fish commercial fish food until I come up with an automatic tetra feeding solution, so this vivarium could be largely self-sustaining like my other vivaria. But I didn't mind doing this, as it was such a delight to watch them feed every day. Now, AC family, I bet you know what I'm about to ask next. What should we name our different schools of fish? Let me know your name suggestions for the corridoras, the rummy-nose, the embers, and the cardinals in the comments, and I'll choose my favorites. As the spiritual mists arrived to blow through hydrometa, I couldn't help but marvel at this miraculous slice of nature we were able to create. How awesome that similar beautiful scenes like this happen out in the wild, on a macro scale, in the various diverse aquatic systems of the world without us ever seeing it. But hydrometa gave us the perfect peak, and had quickly become the coolest vivarium I've ever created in my life. And for hours, I sat with my heart full, enjoying the view. Hey, what was that? I looked closer. What? An ant. But when I realized what kind of ant it was, my heart dropped to the pit of my stomach. Fire ants! I could see some swimming on the surface of the water. Wait a second. I gasped as I opened the door to the vivarium. They were everywhere. The swarm of fire ants marching into Hydromeda was horrifying. No! Fire ants were breaking into the wetlands? But where were they coming from? My heart beat loudly in my ears as I followed the trail. Down to the floor. Across to the other side of the ant room. And quickly realized where the swarm of fire ants were coming from. Oh no. Volcania! Vote in my community tab to affect this story.